Hello, so it's a sunny September Saturday. I am in Hassocks in Sussex. Let's explore. Ha, I looked a bit miserable there, didn't I? That's because a group of tourists were staring right at me. Always good for the nerves. Anyway, Hassocks is a village with a population of about 8,500. It's situated 7 miles north of Brighton and is right on the doorstep of the South Downs National Park, which is perfect for a bit of walking or cycling. You can even hire bikes from that building right next to the station, so why not start here? As you arrive in the village, you're greeted by the Hassocks pub, which has been run by the same family since 2003. Conveniently, it's within staggering distance of the southbound platform, but you didn't hear that from me. Anyway, onto the high street. The village had loads of different shops, restaurants, cafes, you name it. It was there, so it was nice to see groups of walkers going into cafes, enjoying the sunshine before they headed off on their trek. So on the main high street there is a community notice board with a bench and a bin next to a road called Chancellor's Park. So when I hear that, I just think of Jeremy Hunt and Rachel Reeves walking in a park with their dogs glaring at each other, but it shows they've paid for something and it's useful. The bench and the bin, that is. Anyway, excuse the finger. A bit further down the high street, I found the best sign in the English language. Free parking, which I went to check out, and in the process realised that there was a farmer's market on, which occurs every 4th Saturday of the month. There's also a nice clear sign detailing points of interest within the village. There's also one of these at the station. Adastra Park is located just off the high street. It's actually in Kema, the neighbouring village according to Google, but I'll let someone local confirm that. Anyway, the park was donated to the local parish council by the late E.D. Stafford in memory of his son, who was sadly killed while serving with the Royal Flying Corps during the First World War. You can find a remembrance garden here, alongside some public toilets, which are free, car parking, play areas, and skate parks. Whenever I go to a place like this, I will always try and leave the tourist hotspot, if you like, to try and find something that may be unnoticed by visitors. So I found this stream that took you to a newer housing development further north within Hassocks. I will always share the routes that I took so that you can follow along should you wish to do so. A CharlieExplores UK walking tour, if you like. So I'm now at the top end of the village and I'm testing out my fancy new microphone system that I have invested in for this channel. So a bit about Hassocks. So the average house price here is just over £572,000, so it's quite an expensive place to live. But as you can see, there's a lot of green space around me. There's lots of parks, play areas. It's close to London for commuting, so it's popular there. It's part of Mid Sussex District Council, so it's, well, where it says Mid Sussex. And I found out just before recording this actually that the jumper I'm wearing says on it District Champion. I mean, how sad is that? But this is classic what you would call blue wall territory, where the Liberal Democrats made inroads at the election a few months ago. This is a sort of place that's always been Conservative but now has a Liberal Democrat MP, Alison Bennett. So that's a bit about Hassocks in terms of where it is geographically and socially. So onwards. Being nosy, I decided to have a look at the new housing development that was being built at the top of the village. You can see this when you go past on the train, and I've passed quite a few times, so it was nice to actually get off and have a look. And yes, excuse the finger again. I followed the footpath round under the bridge where the railway line passes. That was a rare sight in the United Kingdom. It's called a southern train. They don't usually come, but that one did, so it's a good day. So the footpath was closed for maintenance, so I've come a slightly different way, following the main footpath back in towards the village. When I think back, that's the most British thing that could have happened. Nobody told me that the footpath was closed, so I walked all the way down to have to walk all the way back. Anyway, I passed some electric car charge points, so you're well covered if you've got an electric vehicle. And then I went under this fancy looking tunnel. I don't know what its technical name is. The footpath ended up on London Road, which made me question how many London roads are there in the UK. There's probably hundreds. There's another pub at the top called the Friar's Oak, but I decided to walk back down towards the garden centre. Why, I hear you ask? All will be revealed shortly. Behind the station are some fancy looking houses, and it's really peaceful, so I enjoyed spending a moment to relax. The bus stops I saw were easy to spot and well maintained, and there are buses into Hassocks from Burgess Hill, Brighton and other nearby towns and villages. So I am stood outside the South Downs Nursery and Garden Centre. Why, you may ask? Well, this is actually home to the Museum of Gardening. So if you're into gardening and you're coming to Hassocks, stop here because they've got a dedicated museum to all things gardening, and I believe there is a Flymo stand, so definitely worth the visit. And I'd recommend driving here though, because trying to cross the road as a pedestrian is quite difficult, but I made it. It was probably more due to the fact that I came on a Saturday morning, which was peak period. Anyway, on my walk to Clayton, I passed the Clayton Tunnel, which is listed because of its north portal being so distinctive. Opposite the tunnel was a large recreation ground that I was really surprised to find, because I've passed here many times before and I had no idea this was here. There were play areas, football pitches, and even a village hall. So, what's the point of interest in Clayton, you ask? Well, there's the St John the Baptist Church, an Anglo-Saxon gem with a wrought iron weather vane dating back to 1781. That's just 5 years younger than the Declaration of Independence in the United States. The church is Grade 1 listed for its architectural and historical importance, so is definitely worth a visit. Oh, and Sir Norman Hartnell, the designer of Queen Elizabeth II's wedding gown, is buried in the churchyard. Following this historical discovery, I found the path to the South Downs Way, where I decided to go to have a look at the Jack and Jill or Clayton windmills. I knew there would be a steep ascent, so I braced myself for the hike. I found some sheep, and already still not at the top, but it is such a clear day. You can see all over the South Downs and very clearly see Hassocks. So definitely worth the slight detour. And already I can see the football that was being set up in the Rec in Clayton down there. It's quite extraordinary really, how much you can see with just a small bit of elevation up the hill. Look at this unit of a sheep. He's just been watching me as I've walked up the hill. Just like, yeah, this is my land. Keep moving. So I'll do as you say. Well, we made it to the windmill. What I wasn't expecting was to come up here and hear "Walk Like an Egyptian" being blared out from a speaker. There seems to be some sort of campsite / military event. There's a lot of people in uniform. So I'll have a look at the windmill, but yeah, walk like an Egyptian. There we go. So I did a typical me and walked around the whole thing before finding the entrance rather than just going straight to it. But I found a nice latte dealer, so it was worthwhile. You can see the windmill behind me right there. This is the Jill windmill, a 19th century corn mill that still occasionally produces stone ground whole grain flour. Most of it is sold to visitors, and it's mainly made from locally grown Sussex wheat. The windmill is owned by Mid Sussex District Council, while its neighbour Jack is privately owned. Jill is also part of a rather fancy technology trial, using digital compasses to monitor her movement. There's even a live wind dashboard for Jill, which I've linked below. I never thought I'd be associating the words dashboard and windmill. That's where I got my iced latte from, by the way. I'd thoroughly recommend it. If you'd rather drive, there are parking spaces here and special spaces for horses boxes. Also, I've just realised this app has a fancy split camera function. So here's the windmill. You can see Jack in the background, by the way. Behind me is the South Downs view. So I hope you like Hassocks. Please come and explore. And if you come on a day like I've come on, you can see for miles, including planes landing at Gatwick. So if you're a plane spotter, this is also a good place for you. A bit of an outtake to the video I wasn't expected to do, but some advice: do wear appropriate footwear when you're coming here or in the countryside more generally, because I finished the video, was walking down the hill thinking, you know, great, I was listening to Steph McGovern and Robert Peston discussing capital gains tax, all was good, and then I come across the biggest mud pile you've ever seen in your life, and I'm thinking, goodbye Nike Air Force Ones, you've served me well. So yes, please wear appropriate footwear. And it turns out it was the Gurkha Welfare charity who were fundraising for a walk/run that they were doing from Winchester to Brighton, which is a lot of the South Downs way. So that's what all the event was about at the Jack and Jill windmill. Yes, thank you for watching.